Okay, so Dad and I are outside looking at my van for my future solar system situation. And unfortunately, this little guy right here, which my rail would normally go on, is not in the right spot. So Dad's kind of looking to see what we could maybe do. And he said we'll probably have to mount one of the racks here and then one of them more like up here. And so, yeah, this is the starting place of another project. Guess this is as good a time as any to say hello, adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be an interesting project, and I'm going to just share a little bit of it today. But we got some work to do, and so this could be interesting. And I'm really glad that I have Dad here to help, like, make it happen, because there's no way I could do this on my own. Because, well, this is hard. Inside this box is a roof rack. Rails to go up top like these. So trying to figure that part out because it can't happen until it's figured out on the layout. Let me explain a few things to you guys if you're just catching up on my channel. This is a 2020 NV200. I have a very nice warranty on it that is a 100,000 mile warranty that is dependent on me not doing anything to the electrical system. So a lot of the modifications that I've had to make along the way have had to be very minimal in way of like insulation or covering of the metal or things like that. And it wasn't until recently that I even thought this could be a potential thing, because it's not tapping into the existing system in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, it's running something anew. With that said, this is now an option that could happen. I've been holding on to this Renogy panel for quite some time. And I've actually had it since I had my car, and I thought, oh, someday I'll have an adventure vehicle for this. And then I got the van, but then with the warranty, I was really afraid to do anything with it. And so after my dad had recently installed his solar, we were talking about it, and he was like, well, if this will work with charging your power stations, why not? And so we looked into it, and sure enough, this is something that I can do as a modification to the van without voiding the warranty. So yay. So we got the bars out, we're sizing them up just to kind of see, and then we're about to get the panel to see how wide it actually needs to be. This is Van Tech USA, van and truck cargo systems. These are the mounting brackets that go on the van, and it came with these 2 rails and all of the fixins. Right now what Dad is doing is he's putting the rails together so we can kind of get an idea, and these rails can either sit upright or they can sit flat. And so my other ones in the back are sitting upright, but he was saying that we could put these flat because they'd be a bit better for the solar panel. Gonna look at it that way. About to go get the solar panel out and then take a really good look to see about this placement. My headliner, as many of you know, has been a thorn in my side since the beginning. It cuts off from the cab to the back of the box. The problem is, the natural spot for it to cut off is like right here where my curtain rod is, but you can see there's this much still hanging out in the back. And so it makes some interesting things for when it comes to like hanging a curtain or putting things in here, just in general. And this is going to continue with this. So the cord will need to come out somewhere in this area as opposed to up here, which it logically would make more sense because of this headliner, unless we decide to do something with it. And I don't know if we're on that journey just yet. If you've watched my curtain dilemma, you understand this has been the main thing that has been the curtain issue, is if I sit it on the headliner, it sits well into my back livable space by like a foot, which is way too far. And I have no idea why Nissan decided to put these like headliner bulkhead things in here so far back, at least on the 2020, but it's just one of those things and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But in the meantime, we're just gonna figure it out. We're gonna work around it. I don't know what that's gonna look like yet. What I do know though is that Dad is getting everything all laid out. It's looking pretty nice up there. Because I'm back in my base camp, I'm gonna be cleaning up my van just a little bit because I just kind of threw everything in here. So I figured that over the next few days, I'll do my laundry and then I'll restock everything. But this gives me a good opportunity to kind of just really sit with this and figure it out. Also, a lot of you all after the last video were very excited about this project. I wasn't planning on doing this project so soon, and we'll see if it gets itself together before I actually take off. But I think this is really a possibility, not to mention having the solar panel up here in this area is actually going to give me a little bit of a buffer from the harsh sun getting into the back of the cab, just a little bit more. I have the roof box in the back, and whenever it rains, I don't feel like I'm getting just pounded on now because of the roof box. So I'm thinking this will also help. Okay, so this is gonna be the basic placement, and it's a little off from my original hole that you go in with. So Dad's gonna push it in through these points probably. And then the panel's gonna sit up here. I'll still have enough room to open my roof box. So now that we figured that out, this is very possible. We're waiting on a couple more parts to get here, so that's gonna have to happen tomorrow. And I'm in very good spirits. We just put everything in the van for now, and till tomorrow, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be all we can do. Going and getting the step stool, Dad's getting my ladder out of the van, and then we're gonna get started. Oh no, we're gonna move the van so it can sit flat because it's kind of on a little slope, so I gotta go get the keys. Here they are. No pressure at all. Kind of nervous, really nervous. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but at the same time, it hasn't really been an option, even though I've had this panel literally since 2018. Before I even started my van journey, I knew this was ultimately going to be on an adventure vehicle, but now it's going to be on my adventure vehicle now. It's so exciting. Dad has already put on these brackets right here. He did this before we came out here, and he mounted it to the racks themselves. So the panel is technically now where it can be fully connected to the rack. And now he's working on getting the little fixtures on the rack and tighten them down so we can pick this up as one piece and then put it up top, as opposed to having to put one rail down, then fix the panel, then the other one, then fix the panel, which would be a lot harder considering. And this is kind of what he did with his as well whenever he put them up there, so it'd be a bit easier to maneuver. So this is a good tip. Okay, so what Dad's doing right now is he's climbing up just to check all the measurements and things like that. We just looked at it, we moved it back a little bit. He moved the feet on it already to kind of line it up with my existing roof rack. Now it is going to look a little bit different than my existing roof rack, and that's okay. The roof rack I have currently is facing upright like this. We're laying this one down like this, and he's debating on if we're going to put this little thing that came with it that's supposed to be like a little wind guard, but in the orientation like this, it sits more flat, which means I could actually put lights on it. I don't know if that's my journey right now, because most people run their lights off of their alternator and their physical van. I can't do that because of the warranty. So if he puts it on there, it could be something that I could use in the future, but not right now. I still have about, I want to say 42,000 miles that I can drive on my van, which that'll go fast, but at the same time, 42,000 more miles of warranty. So we just moved the panel off of the brackets. These are the brackets that will attach to the van. And Dad is finishing the marking for the drilling holes. And it looks like we might get a little sun yet. This little white thing is actually where the cords will go through, so he's trying to figure out where that would work best. We could face it in either direction, but logically it makes more sense to face it in the direction he is so that the water doesn't go into it. So now just figuring out where it needs to go is the big question. He's setting it up, and it definitely clears for the clearance section there, so that'll be good. Flip the panel over so that he can look at how much wire there is and kind of figure out the placement for sure to make sure it's good. But this is what those brackets look like on the opposite side. You can see they're screwed in to the rail on the top side and to the panel on the back side. And then the wiring is right here. It's all still like tied up because it hasn't been used yet. Again, I've had this panel since 2018. It's just been sitting waiting. And so this is super awesome to finally see this guy getting to come to life. I already can't go through a car wash because of the roof box, so I'm not really worried about the car wash aspect of this, because some people have asked me on the previous video, don't you worry about a car wash if you put solar on it? No, I have to hand wash my van anyway, and it's pretty nasty right now, so it probably needs a good wash, but it may rain, so who knows? But yeah, the solar has never not been here as a result of me just wanting to wash the van. It has never been that part. It's always been the warranty, trying to figure out if I could have it or not. And now that I know that I can, it's very exciting. Dad is going to build his own cords, so he did decide to go ahead and go this way. I think this is great. So now we are at the point of no return. Cutting holes. It just makes me nervous. I mean, I travel around in this thing quite a bit, and so the more times you cut into it, the more opportunities it has to leak and stuff. And I know other people have also said, why don't you do a roof vent or something like that? Part of it was holes. Holes were scary, but also the way that my van is set up, it's not quite wide enough for the bigger roof vents, and the smaller ones I don't like as much. So that's why I had never really contemplated that. And now it won't even be an option. So I'm okay with that. I'm committing fully to the solar because that's more important to me than the roof vent.
Take the dirt off.
Nerve-wracking part was just putting the wires through. That was really a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, at some point I've decided I am going to take down my headliner because of the curtain issues that I have, and it's becoming more and more apparent that I probably need to do that. But I just tried to take out one of the clips that holds the headliner in place so that we could have a better view, and oh my gosh. I don't think there's any turning back once I pop those things. So until I figure out how to properly cut that, it's not a today thing. What Dad's doing right now is he's running the wires through the little cover, and he put the beetle tape on it so it'll stick down, and then he's going to secure it, of course, with screws. So it's coming along. It is definitely a challenge that I would not have been able to do by myself at all. Okay, what Dad's doing now is putting the little pieces on the ends, and what these do is they hold the wire in place, but they also make it watertight. And so you put them on, and then it clamps it in, and then he's gonna get a wrench and then go through it and tighten it up a bit more. And we're all learning together here because I had no idea how to do any of this. So it's really interesting to see and to kind of understand how it works. And the goal is always, if we can't do something, to watch and learn and help, and maybe have some knowledge of it in the future. So I will know if for some reason my solar stops charging, that there's a few places that I need to check. I'll have to check the bottom side of the panel where the wires come out. I'll also have to check this to see if the wires are still in good place, and then up under my headliner where the wires come in, I'll be able to check those too. And so I kind of learn from Dad as he's doing things so that I can troubleshoot if I ever have issues. So what's next? The scary part again, more holes. He has to drill for the roof racks now. What Dad's doing now is he's making a space where we can attach to using this little tool that we used for something else already. And this thing is so handy. I don't know much about this tool, I just know that he used it a lot on his van to create like places where he could attach to inside the van. We also used it to create a spot that we could attach to for my shelf, because the placement of the little holes that are like anchor holes wasn't a good spot, and so my shelf wasn't really super secure, and so we fixed that. But now he's making these little threadable spaces in the roof. After he does that, he's going to lay down the pad that goes below the roof rack, and then he's going to put the actual rack piece on. This is what that little pad looks like on my other pieces that have been here. This has been here on my van for a couple of years at least now. It just holds everything in place and also keeps it from like rubbing. It gives it a nice buffer, and it works super, super well. On most projects, we hand tighten in and then we use tools to tighten it the rest of the way. And so that's kind of what he's doing right now. So this is what the bracket looks like before it's installed. It's just metal, and then it has that little like piece that goes under it. And the screw actually goes in through this bottom section, this little section right here. And then that's what attaches to the little pad that goes into the van itself. Time for us to put the panel up there. We have to put it on, and then Dad's going to adjust it accordingly, and then he's going to put it on the other side and again adjust it accordingly. Well, guys, it's up here and it's not going anywhere. That was interesting. That was very interesting. So we just finished tightening down these little pieces over here, and that secures the panel. That's the part that Dad had pre-put together. All of these are in place. And again, so now all we have to do is get the wiring hooked up and we're finished. Dad is now going to test the wiring with this little device. He just got this today. So he's going to be able to test which one is supposed to go where based on this little gadget. You can get things for your van in all sorts of interesting places. The panel is Renogy. The power stations I've been using will be coming from different places. This will help me to test more power stations on the road so I can give you guys more feedback. And yeah, it just goes to show that all the different components come from very different places. You can purchase all these components together from a solar company, but since I had the panel already, and that's all I had, we're piecing it together, one piece at a time. Dad just did the continuity test by holding those pieces to each of the wires, and you find the one that the signal comes through by the beep. The next tool that we're gonna be using is this. This is from Bouge RV. It came in a kit. This kit has all sorts of different things in here that you can use for electric and solar. And Dad picked this up so he could work on his stuff. So this is pretty cool. Dad's getting the edges set up for us for being able to plug in. He's got all these little pieces that make it compatible. And then after he gets that done, then we will be able to proceed. Now we did test this out. If you didn't see the video, we tested out the solar panel to make sure that this would in fact work. We put it out in the sun and we used just my regular power station connector cords. And by doing that, it was able to power up my power station. So I'm gonna be actually taking that power station with me on this trip now that this is here, because I know for a fact it works, but I'm also gonna see which other ones are compatible with it so we can kind of form a charging line. I am terrified of doing anything with electricity just because it's scary. So I'm glad that Dad has already done this on his van and kind of has an idea at least, because I wouldn't be able to do this. I would not.
Clicked. That's what they said it'd do, it clicked.
So there it is. We officially have everything run into the van and it comes down from the ceiling, and then I've plugged my power cables into this. And guess what, guys? We are pulling power right now. That was interesting. And we learned a few things along the way that neither myself or my dad knew. For example, the Bouge RV, they do solar as well as Renogy does. This is a 2018 panel, so things may be a little bit different now, but with my panel at least, the Bouge RV attachments did not work. Nope, they sent in that little kit all sorts of little attachments, but the problem is those are slightly different and wouldn't click into the actual ports off of the panel itself. So again, if you have Bouge RV and Renogy and yours work together, let me know. But for today, we learned that not all things that are marketed towards solar are universal. It's going to finish up this area up here. He's going to tie up all my cords and make it look really nice for me. So I have a lot of work to do in here. Overall, this is another exciting project that is finished up for my van. This is awesome. We learned again that not all things are created equal. Not all parts work together, and that I now have a little bit of knowledge of solar. Now, is this going to be the be all end all? Is it going to fix all of my problems with charging? No, it's not, but it's definitely going to help me out. For example, if I'm having a long day where I'm officing, I can still be charging in the van. I couldn't do that before. I can also, if I go to a theme park, I can put all of my power stations in series and charge all of them, as opposed to just one of them or none of them. Potentially, because before I couldn't do much because I'd only be able to put a foldable panel in the window, and well, the solar on that was not great. So, am I really happy? Yeah, I am. This is gonna be awesome, and I'm very happy that I had to come home for my special delivery and that it turned into this particular project. I wasn't expecting to do this until much later in the year, but because the parts arrived, it worked out. Guys, we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. I'm excited to get back on the road, and this is gonna make it even better. Till next time, guys, bye.